A physical practice today on day 8 of training camp leaves a few guys walking off, but it sounds like the injury bug might have been just a scare. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Breeze. I'm your host, Philip Charles VanDerHeyden IV, aka Philly the Fourth, talking about what happened today on the Bears practice, and it sounded like a physical day. So far, I believe this is the most physical practice, the longest practice in full pads that they've had yet. And it sounds like, while there was definitely some positive to take away from it, there were some scares. Now, thankfully, so far, it sounds like they're just scares. Now, whether or not they keep, the scares keep the players out for an extended period or not, I don't foresee that happening, but they might stay out for a day or two while they recover. These are the injury scares that we had. So the Chicago Bears are losing linemen at a concerning rate. Shortly after left tackle Braxton Jones left the field early, defensive end Montez Sweat did the same. According to the media in attendance, Sweat was able to walk off under his own power as he returned to the building with his trainer. The same cannot be said for cornerback Dallas Flowers, however. Flowers went down shortly after Sweat left while blocking wide receiver Karan Hudson and needed assistance getting off the field. The other tweet about injuries was this one. Card coming out for Javarius Owens, who was hesitant to put any weight on his left leg, was hurt during a special teams punt rep at the line of scrimmage, getting some daps from teammates as he's driven away. So definitely a bummer that, those guys went out, especially, with Braxton and Montez Sweat. We really can't afford those guys to be injured. It sounds like both of those guys, the feeling after practice is that they avoided significant injury. So I hope that they rest up, and in Braxton's case in particular, hope he can get back out there because, Kieran ran with the ones today, but Braxton had still been held down the majority of the snaps with the ones. So it sounded like he was pulling away in the left tackle competition, but obviously an injury could slow him down in that. So we'll see what happens, but I hope he gets well soon because we need him out there. Otherwise, just a few things to run through. We've got a few different tweets about what happened at practice today, and I've got highlights for you guys. So we'll get through these tweets first. First tweet, practice ends with Caleb Williams going 6 for 6 in a 2-minute drill, capped off with a TD to Luther Burden in the back of the end zone. Offense had 1:41 on the clock from its own 35-yard line, trailing 24-21. Williams connected with Loveland, Raymond, Odunze, Swift, and Burden. And actually, instead of going to the next tweet, I have that TD. So without further ado, I don't know if you guys, I ran it twice in case you guys got a better look at it the second time. That was a nasty route from Luther Burden. I mean, he turned that DB all the way around, and that's exactly what makes him so dangerous. His lightning bolt, shifty agility is a problem when he's running routes, man. The DBs have a really hard time staying with him, and that much is evident. Overall, it sounds like the offense had a decent day, but also, the defense did some nice things, too. I'll go through these last two tweets. Kieran Amagaji was at left tackles with the ones during the 2-minute drill. He and Jedrick Willis Jr. rotated each team period with the starting O-line after Braxton Jones left practice. Daniel Hardy was on the edge the majority of the time in place of Montez Sweat. Saw Dio Odeingbo get a couple of DN reps once Sweat went inside the building with a trainer, but Odeingbo was mostly kicked inside at D tackle. Malik Muhammad got first-team nickel reps in the 2-minute drill. That's significant because obviously Malik Muhammad, we have a lot of high hopes for him. If he could hold down that nickel position, that would be a big deal. Bears camp practice 8, padded 3 in the books at Hallis Hall. Injuries are the story of the morning. Left tackle Braxton Jones and DN Montez Sweat left for practice and did not return. More serious injuries for Dallas Flowers and Javarius Owens. Other notables, Cairo Santos was perfect in the field goal period. 56, 50, 40, 33, 51, and 47. Impressive job. Practice ends with an end-of-game TD drive, 65 yards, capped off by Caleb Williams to Luther Burden for a 3-yard touchdown. Caleb with an animated fist pump after the fastball to Burden in the final seconds. Rookie Jordan VanDerHeyden continues to showcase impressive raw power during competitive periods. Brute strength shows up in one-on-one settings. And actually, from what I heard, Jordan VanDerHeyden actually got some play with the ones today. So that's an incredible, both of those things. Malik Muhammad getting first-team nickel reps and Jordan VanDerHeyden getting first-team defensive tackle reps. Those are huge developments. Now, you can't put too much stock in them until you're seeing it more often. But it's a great opportunity for those guys to really try and make a mark and land playing time on this team as rookies, especially as two rookies that were drafted on day 3. That would be extremely impressive for both of them to show up and be contributors. I know that from what I was reading, that the Bears, higher ups seen Jordan VanDerHeyden as a steal at round 6 and have higher hopes for him than normally you'd have for a round 6 player. So I'm excited for him. Again, I've talked on the show about how athletic he is. And like Dan Wiederer just said, his brute strength shows up. And that's why if you can get a guy like that coached up, the sky is the limit, because his athletic ability is going to allow him to do things that many others can't. So I'm excited for him. I hope he continues to be on the upswing. Further from that, I'll play the rest of these highlights for you guys. Also, I have a message from Darnell right here after his extension, and we'll play that real quick.
What's up, Bears fan? Darnell right here. Excited to get my extension done. Let's get it. Go Bears. What's up, Bears?
We got to get my man to say bear down at the end, but that's okay. He was obviously asked to do that, and he looked a little bit out of place having to talk to the people. Was he supposed to brag about being rich? Like that's just not a very, I get it. But anyways, thank you, Darnell. Excited to have you back. And here's the rest of these plays for practice. Here's Austin Booker breaking into the backfield to make a play on DeAndre Swift. Here is Cortland Loveland reps. Absolute stud. Here's Williams to Komet on an out route. Sorry, I should have said a drag route, but it's nice to see that considering he's had limited highlights in this year's training camp so far. Here's Williams to Odunze on cornerback one-on-one drills with the wide receiver. Here is a swift screen pass. Get out of here. So good stuff from the offense. Overall, by the way, I do want to note that some people were taking a lot, like we're kind of trashing DBs on social media for the wide receivers torching them in one-on-one drills. Those are very much like leaned, or like the wide receiver has a clear advantage in those drills, guys. It would be a problem if our wide receivers weren't making plays like in those one-on-one drills, because the DB is asked to play press man coverage or just man coverage on an island when there's no pass rush, and the QB just gets to drop back and dice them up. the wide receiver knows the route. Obviously, the DB doesn't. Like, there's no game. Like, those are good practice for the DB and the wide receiver, but the wide receiver is always going to have the advantage because how often in games is a DB going to be asked to play press man or regular man on an island when there's no pass rush? Like, and there's no other players on the field running routes, no one else defending. It's not a realistic drill for the DBs. It's good work for them to get in, but the wide receiver is always going to have the advantage, and so you really can't take anything from a defensive back getting beaten in those drills because again, it's just not a realistic game scenario. Overall, I've got some other quick highlights to note. Obviously, we talked. Caleb Williams went 6 for 6 on his game-winning drive. TJ Edwards returned from injury to get back into practice today. Love to see that. Glad to have TJ back on the field. Rome Odunze broke a tackle for a 43-yard touchdown. I don't believe that was the highlight that we showed because he broke a tackle from Cam Lewis, and that was during the opening of live 11-on-11 drills where Rome took it to the house. So love to hear that. Caden Davis stacked another impressive day after having the catch of camp, people were saying yesterday. He had 3 impressive catches today, continuing to stand out, which this is a stacked wide receiver roster. I don't know if any of these guys, you've already got 5, are making it really with Rome, Luther, Khalif Raymond, Xavion Thomas, and Ja'Day Walker. You figure those 5 are making it. Now, whether the Bears are going to bring 6 or not, a lot of that probably depends on special teams ability. So I don't know if Caden Davis can make a mark on special teams. If he can, he sounds like he might make the roster because he's also flashing at wide receiver. So Austin Booker, Gravon Dexter, Ode Ingbo, and Jordan Vandenberg were generally creating problems up front. So that's a good thing to hear. We really need those guys to come through this season. So obviously we need Montez to get back healthy too, but glad to hear that Booker, Ode Ingbo, Dexter, and Jordan Vandenberg are all making plays. Kieran Amagaje and Jedrick Willis rotated at left tackle after Braxton exited. Malik Muhammad, Cam Lewis, Anthony Johnson Jr., and Skylar Thomas all received opportunities in the secondary with all the injuries. So out of all those guys, Cam Lewis is probably going to start at safety without Kobe being in. And Malik Muhammad, if he could really take a step up and be the nickel back while, Kyler Gordon is injured, that would be great. So I hope he can lock that role down. And that about does it. All told, Dexter and Ode Ingbo and Booker routinely flashed, it says. Colson continued to have an impressive practice. Overall, it's a good day. The other thing I wanted to talk about today is that they did a anonymous one more of these surveys where they polled like 30-something, 20-something GMs and then like 30-something coaches. It's a, anonymous poll, and they ranked tier lists for QBs. So here's what I've got for that. I've got the explanation for oh wait, hold on. We want to start here. So criteria for tier 2 on that tier list is carries his team sometimes, handles pure passing situations in doses, has other dimensions that elevate him above tier 3, has a hole or two in his game. Williams was in tier 3 last year, and there are only 2 quarterbacks this year who had a bigger improvement than him. Here was a Caleb explanation from one executive. All 32 or 36 voters had Caleb in tier 2, 14 put him in tier 3. All 8 general managers in the voting pool put him in the second tier. 11 coaches had him in the third. That just goes to show you, like, coaches that don't appreciate his stellar abilities. I trust the GMs more, if I'm being honest with you, just because coaches sometimes are rigid with what they want from a player. But I think Caleb's going from 2 to a possible 1, and exec said a couple of plays he made last year, late in the year and in the playoffs. Not many people can make those plays. You saw it get better and better as they progressed. And here's the official tier list where they have Caleb tied for 11th with Brock Purdy. I don't necessarily have a problem with where he ended up at the end of the day. I will say that, like, I think that this is going to be different after this year. And I just hate that he's ranked under Jordan Love, if I'm being honest with you. And I know I'm biased, but I just firmly believe that Caleb Williams is a better QB than Jordan Love, especially when it matters the most. And that showed last year in the playoffs. Both, when it was win or go home, one QB showed up, another one didn't. And so, take this for what you will. He'll have the opportunity to obviously prove everybody, prove some people wrong. I think that he'll have the opportunity to move it up, as high as number 7 in this list this next year, maybe even number 6 or number 5 if he goes far in the playoffs. So we'll see. I can't wait to see it. That'll do it for this episode of Chicago Bears Breeze, my friends. My name is Philip Charles VanDerHeyden IV, aka Philly the Fourth. Solid day of practice. Hope that, Jones and Sweat can get back healthy. And, yeah, looking forward to more stuff. We've got football back tonight. The Hall of Fame game is going to be played. It's going to be mostly backups, if not all backups. But it'll be cool to see football back, without a doubt. Until next time, as always, long live the Chicago Bears, but most importantly, long live you, Breeze Nation. Have a great night, everybody. Bear down, Chicago.